Welcome to a journey through the complete world of Sailor Moon. This is a comprehensive exploration of the Silver Millennium, the Sailor Guardians, and the battles that shape both the ancient past and modern Tokyo. Let yourself relax as we delve deep into this magical universe. Before you begin drifting off to sleep, do consider subscribing to the channel for more anime sleep stories. There are many more of your favorite anime worlds to peacefully explore together. And now, on with our story. Long ago, in the time known as the Silver Millennium, there existed a vast kingdom spanning the moon and the inner planets of the solar system. The Moon Kingdom served as the center of this peaceful civilization, ruled by the wise and powerful Queen Serenity. The Queen possessed the legendary Silver Crystal, a source of immense power that brought prosperity and longevity to her people. Princess Serenity lived in the Moon Palace, a beautiful structure made of white stone and crystal. She was beloved by her mother and the people of the Moon Kingdom. The princess had long, flowing hair and was known for her kind heart and gentle nature. She spent her days learning from her mother about leadership and the responsibilities of royalty. On Earth below, there existed the Golden Kingdom, ruled by Prince Endymion. The Earth Kingdom was separate from the Moon Kingdom, and travel between the two realms was forbidden. Despite this prohibition, Princess Serenity and Prince Endymion met during one of her secret visits to Earth. They fell deeply in love, though their romance was kept hidden from both kingdoms. Prince Endymion was protected by 4 loyal guardians, known as the Shitenu, or 4 heavenly kings. These were Jadeite, Nephrite, Zoisite, and Kunzite. Each possessed unique abilities and served as both protectors and advisors to the prince. They were skilled warriors who had sworn their lives to defend the Earth Kingdom and its prince. On Earth, there lived a woman named Beryl. She harbored deep feelings for the prince and dreamed of becoming his queen. When she discovered his secret relationship with Princess Serenity, jealousy consumed her heart. This jealousy made her vulnerable to dark influences. Queen Metalia, an ancient evil entity sealed within the earth, sensed Beryl's negative emotions. Metalia had been imprisoned long ago, but retained enough power to corrupt those with darkness in their hearts. She whispered promises of power to Beryl, offering her the strength to win Prince Endymion's love and destroy her rival. Beryl accepted Metalia's dark gift and was transformed. Her appearance changed, her hair becoming red and wild, her skin pale, and her eyes filled with malice. The corruption spread through her being, amplifying her jealousy and hatred. She became Queen Beryl, a powerful sorceress dedicated to destroying the Moon Kingdom. Under Metalia's influence, Queen Beryl corrupted the 4 heavenly kings, turning them into her generals. The kings fell under her spell, their minds clouded by dark magic. They forgot their original loyalty and became commanders in Beryl's army. The Great War began when Queen Beryl launched her assault on the Moon Kingdom. Earth forces, led by the corrupted Shitenu, attacked the peaceful lunar civilization. The people of the Moon Kingdom had lived in peace for so long that they were unprepared for such violence. Princess Serenity and Prince Endymion tried to stop the fighting, but the war had grown beyond their control. During the final battle, both the prince and princess were killed, their love story ending in tragedy. The sight of their deaths devastated Queen Serenity. Faced with the complete destruction of her kingdom and the loss of her beloved daughter, Queen Serenity made the ultimate sacrifice. She used all her remaining power and the full might of the Silver Crystal to seal away Queen Metalia and end the war. The effort cost her life, but with her final act, she sent the souls of everyone who died, including Princess Serenity, Prince Endymion, and the Sailor Guardians, to be reborn on Earth in the future. Luna and Artemis, who served as advisors to the Moon Kingdom, were placed in suspended animation with instructions to awaken when the time came to guide the reincarnated Guardians. 1,000 years later, in modern Tokyo, a 14-year-old girl named Tsukino Usagi lived an ordinary life. She was a student at Juban Municipal Junior High School, though she was not particularly dedicated to her studies. Usagi was often late to school, struggled with her grades, and preferred eating and sleeping to homework. Usagi had a distinctive appearance, with her blonde hair styled in twin buns topped with flowing pigtails. She was known for being cheerful, but also prone to crying when things became difficult. Despite her seemingly carefree nature, she possessed a kind heart and always tried to help others when they were in trouble. One morning, while running late to school as usual, Usagi encountered a black cat with a crescent moon mark on its forehead. The cat was being tormented by a group of children. Without hesitation, Usagi intervened to help the cat, removing the bandages from its forehead and revealing the golden crescent moon symbol. That night, the cat appeared in Usagi's bedroom and spoke to her. The cat introduced herself as Luna, shocking Usagi with her ability to talk. Luna explained that Usagi was actually Sailor Moon, a legendary warrior destined to fight evil and protect Earth. She gave Usagi a magical brooch and taught her the words to transform into Sailor Moon. Initially, Usagi was reluctant to accept this responsibility. The idea of fighting monsters seemed terrifying to an ordinary schoolgirl. However, when her friend Naru became the target of a Yuma, a monster serving the Dark Kingdom, Usagi realized she had no choice but to act. During her first transformation, Usagi spoke the words, "Moon Prism Power, Make Up," and was enveloped in ribbons of light. Her ordinary clothes disappeared and were replaced with a sailor-style uniform consisting of a white leotard with a blue skirt, red boots, and white gloves. Her hair became longer and was topped with a tiara bearing a red jewel. As Sailor Moon, Usagi discovered she possessed various abilities. Her primary attack was called Moon Tiara Action, where she threw her tiara like a disc to destroy Yuma. She also had the power to heal people affected by dark magic using an ability called Moon Healing Escalation. Let's continue exploring as we delve into Usagi's early battles and the search for the other Sailor Guardians. Luna explained to Usagi that she was not alone in this mission. There were other Sailor Guardians scattered throughout Tokyo who needed to be found and awakened to their true identities. These Guardians would help in the fight against the Dark Kingdom, an evil organization led by Queen Beryl that was stealing energy from humans to revive their master, Queen Metalia. The Dark Kingdom operated by sending Yuma to various locations throughout Tokyo. These monsters would drain energy from large groups of people, leaving victims exhausted and weak. The Yuma often disguised themselves or hid within popular businesses and attractions to maximize their access to potential victims. Usagi's first several battles were challenging as she learned to use her powers effectively. She often relied on a mysterious figure known as Tuxedo Mask, who would appear during difficult moments to provide assistance. Tuxedo Mask wore a black tuxedo, white gloves, and a white mask that concealed his identity. He carried a cane and often threw roses to distract enemies or provide warnings to Sailor Moon. During one of her early missions, Usagi encountered a situation at Crystal Seminar, a cram school that promised to dramatically improve students' academic performance through intensive study programs. Many students and parents were attracted to these promises, especially those preparing for high school entrance exams. Among the students attending Crystal Seminar was Mizuno Ami, a quiet and studious girl known throughout Juban Junior High for her exceptional academic achievements. Ami consistently scored at the top of her class and was particularly gifted in mathematics and science. She was planning to attend medical school in the future, following in the footsteps of her mother, who worked as a doctor. Ami was a reserved person who preferred studying to socializing. She often ate lunch alone while reading, and spent most of her free time either studying or reading books on various subjects. Despite her academic success, she sometimes felt lonely and struggled to make friends with her classmates, who seemed to find her intelligence intimidating. When Crystal Seminar's true purpose was revealed to be a Yuma operation designed to drain energy from ambitious students, Ami found herself in danger. During the battle, Luna discovered that Ami possessed the spiritual energy needed to become a Sailor Guardian. Using a transformation pen, Luna awakened Ami as Sailor Mercury. Sailor Mercury possessed powers related to water and ice, as well as enhanced analytical abilities. Her primary attack was called Bubble Spray, which created a thick fog that could confuse enemies and provide cover for strategic retreats. She also had the ability to analyze enemy weaknesses using a special visor and small computer that appeared as part of her transformation. Her sailor uniform featured a blue skirt and blue boots. Ami's personality as Sailor Mercury emphasized her intelligent and strategic approach to fighting. She often served as the team's tactician, using her analytical skills to identify enemy weak points and develop battle strategies. Her gentle nature also made her skilled at providing emotional support to her teammates. After Ami joined the team, the search for additional Sailor Guardians led to the Hikawa Shrine, a traditional Shinto shrine located on a hill in the Azabu area of Tokyo. The shrine was known for its beautiful grounds and was maintained by a teenage girl named Hino Rei and her grandfather. Rei served as a shrine maiden, performing traditional duties such as tending the sacred fire, cleaning the shrine grounds, and assisting visitors who came to pray or seek spiritual guidance. She lived at the shrine with her grandfather, who was the head priest. Her grandfather was an elderly man known for his somewhat mischievous personality and his appreciation for young women, which often embarrassed Rei. Rei possessed natural spiritual abilities that allowed her to sense evil presences through fire reading and spiritual intuition. These abilities made her naturally suspicious when strange occurrences began happening around the shrine. She attended TA Academy for Girls, where she was known for her intelligence and serious demeanor. When Ayuma began using the shrine as a base to steal energy from visitors, Rei's spiritual senses detected the evil presence. During the battle that followed, Luna recognized that Rei possessed the spiritual energy of a Sailor Guardian. Using a special pen, Luna awakened Rei's memories and powers, allowing her to transform into Sailor Mars. Sailor Mars controlled the power of fire and possessed abilities related to spiritual purification. Her primary attack was called Fire Soul, where she generated and projected flames at her enemies. She also had the ability called Evil Spirits Begone, which could dispel dark magic and purify corrupted areas. Her sailor uniform featured a red skirt and red boots, with purple accents. Rei's personality as Sailor Mars reflected her spiritual training and disciplined upbringing. She was more serious and focused than Usagi, sometimes becoming frustrated with Sailor Moon's tendency to cry or hesitate during battles. Despite their differences, Rei quickly became a valuable ally and close friend. The third inner guardian was discovered during an incident at a bridal shop, where Ayuma had taken up residence. Kino Makoto had recently transferred to Juban Junior High School from another school after an incident that remained mysterious to her new classmates. She was notably tall for a Japanese girl her age, and possessed considerable physical strength that intimidated many of her peers. Rumors circulated that Makoto had been expelled from her previous school for fighting, contributing to her reputation as someone to be wary of. Despite her imposing presence, she had a passion for cooking and domestic skills, often preparing elaborate lunches that impressed her classmates with their creativity and taste. Makoto lived alone in an apartment, taking care of herself without family supervision. This independence was unusual for someone her age and contributed to her reputation as someone who was different from her peers. Her previous school experience had been marked by misunderstandings that led to her transfer to Juban Junior High. When Makoto became involved in the Yuma incident at the bridal shop, her protective instincts and physical courage became apparent. During the battle, Luna recognized her as the next Sailor Guardian and awakened her powers using a transformation pen. Makoto became Sailor Jupiter, Guardian of Thunder and Lightning. Sailor Jupiter possessed immense physical strength along with the ability to control lightning and plant-based attacks. Her primary attack was called Supreme Thunder, where she generated and directed powerful lightning bolts at her enemies. She could also use attacks like Flower Hurricane, which utilized the power of nature. Her sailor uniform featured a green skirt and green boots with pink accents. Makoto's personality as Sailor Jupiter reflected her protective nature and physical capabilities. She often served as the team's physical powerhouse, and was always ready to put herself in danger to protect others. Despite her intimidating reputation, she had a gentle heart and strong maternal instincts. The fourth and final inner guardian revealed herself during a battle with the Dark Kingdom forces. Aino Minako had been operating as a solo warrior called Sailor 5 for some time before the other guardians were awakened. She was guided by a white cat named Artemis, who was Luna's partner from the Moon Kingdom. Minako had been living a double life as both a normal junior high student and as the mysterious Sailor 5 who fought crime throughout Tokyo. Her activities as Sailor 5 had gained media attention, with many people believing she was either an urban legend or an elaborate publicity stunt. Video games were even created based on the reported sightings of Sailor 5. As a civilian, Minako was cheerful and energetic, with long blonde hair and a love of popular culture. She enjoyed singing and dancing, harboring dreams of becoming a famous idol singer. Her personality was more outgoing than the other guardians, and she had experience dealing with public attention. When she revealed herself to the other guardians, it became clear that Minako's experience as Sailor 5 had prepared her for a leadership role. Artemis explained that she was actually Sailor Venus and had been destined to serve as the leader of the Inner Guardians, protecting Princess Serenity in both her past and present incarnations. Sailor Venus possessed powers related to love and light, with attacks that could both damage enemies and inspire hope in allies. Her primary attack was called Crescent Beam, where she fired a concentrated beam of light energy. She could also use Venus Love Me Chain, a heart-shaped energy chain that could bind or attack enemies. Her sailor uniform featured an orange skirt and orange boots. Minako's personality as Sailor Venus combined her natural leadership abilities with her experience as a solo fighter. She understood the responsibilities of being a Sailor Guardian better than the others, and often provided guidance during difficult situations. As the Sailor Guardians continued their battles against the Dark Kingdom, the identity of their mysterious ally Tuxedo Mask became an increasingly important mystery. His consistent appearances during critical moments suggested he had some deeper connection to their mission beyond simple heroic instincts. The truth was revealed when the Guardians discovered that Tuxedo Mask was actually Chiba Mamoru, a 17-year-old high school student attending Moto Azabu High School. Mamoru was an orphan who had lost his parents in a car accident when he was very young. The trauma of this loss had blocked most of his childhood memories, leaving him with only fragments of his past. Mamoru lived alone in his own apartment, supporting himself through various means while attending school. He was known for his good looks and intelligence, though he maintained a somewhat aloof personality that kept most people at a distance. His relationship with Usagi had been antagonistic, as they frequently encountered each other around town and ended up in arguments about trivial matters. The accident that killed Mamoru's parents had also awakened psychic abilities within him, though he was not initially aware of their true nature. He began experiencing recurring dreams about a beautiful princess calling out to him, asking him to find the silver crystal. These dreams compelled him to search for the crystal, though he did not understand why. When danger threatened people around him, particularly Usagi and her friends, Mamoru's protective instincts would trigger an unconscious transformation into Tuxedo Mask. In this form, he could perform feats of athleticism and agility that exceeded normal human capabilities. His roses seemed to possess special properties that could disrupt enemy attacks or provide tactical advantages. The revelation of Mamoru's identity as Tuxedo Mask also triggered the return of his memories as Prince Endymion. These memories revealed his past life romance with Princess Serenity and his role in the ancient tragedy that had destroyed both the Moon Kingdom and the Golden Kingdom of Earth. Let's continue exploring as we delve into the search for the rainbow crystals and the final confrontation with the Dark Kingdom. Queen Beryl's plan to revive Queen Metalia required enormous amounts of energy, which the regular Yuma attacks were providing slowly. However, Beryl also sought to find 7 powerful rainbow crystals that had been hidden within 7 ordinary humans living in modern Tokyo. These rainbow crystals were magical gems that contained immense power, separate from the silver crystal. They had been placed within 7 people who were completely unaware of the crystals within them and lived normal lives until the Dark Kingdom began hunting for the crystals. When a crystal was extracted from its human carrier, that person would transform into a powerful Yuma called one of the 7 Great Yuma. The 7 Great Yuma were different from ordinary Yuma because they retained some human memories and personalities even after transformation. This made them more dangerous but also more tragic, as they were essentially innocent people corrupted against their will. The first of these carriers was Joe the Crane, an arcade game operator who worked at the Game Machine Man arcade where Usagi and her friends often spent time. Joe was known for his skill at crane games and his friendly relationship with the arcade's young customers. When the rainbow crystal was extracted from him, he became Game Machine Man, a Yoma with the ability to trap people within arcade games. Each of the 7 rainbow crystal carriers lived ordinary lives in Tokyo, completely unaware of the powerful crystals sealed within their bodies. These individuals had been chosen in the ancient past to carry the crystals specifically because they were good-hearted people whose positive energy could help contain the darkness of the Yuma sealed within. The extraction of these crystals was traumatic for each carrier, transforming them into the very monsters they had been containing. The first carrier discovered was Crane Game Joe, who operated crane games at the Game Center Crown Arcade, where Usagi and her friends frequently spent time. Joe was known throughout the arcade for his exceptional skill at crane games and his friendly, encouraging attitude toward young customers. He would often give tips to kids trying to win prizes and celebrated their victories as if they were his own. The red rainbow crystal within Joe transformed him into Jessen, also known as Game Machine Man, a Yuma with the ability to trap people inside arcade games and drain their energy while they were imprisoned in digital worlds. After Sailor Moon purified him, Joe returned to his normal life with no memory of his transformation. Though regulars at the arcade noticed he seemed more relaxed, as if relieved of some invisible burden. The second carrier was an unnamed Catholic priest who served at a local church. He was a gentle soul dedicated to providing spiritual counsel and comfort to his parishioners. His days were spent hearing confessions, conducting services, and offering guidance to those struggling with life's difficulties. The orange rainbow crystal within him transformed him into Boxy, a powerful boxer Yuma, whose punches could generate devastating shockwaves of dark energy. His fighting style was brutally efficient, combining supernatural strength with trained boxing techniques. After purification, the priest had no recollection of the incident, but found himself drawn to pray more fervently for protection against evil forces he could not name. The third carrier was Ryo Urawa, a transfer student who joined Ami's class at Juban Junior High School. Ryo possessed natural precognitive abilities that allowed him to see glimpses of the future, a gift that had isolated him from his peers, who found his accurate predictions unsettling. He could sense when the yellow rainbow crystal within him would be targeted, and he struggled with the knowledge of what was coming. Ryo had developed feelings for Ami, drawn to her kindness and intelligence. His Yuma form, Bunbo, had the ability to manipulate academic materials and turn school supplies into weapons, reflecting Ryo's identity as a student. After his purification, Ryo's precognitive abilities remained, and he eventually transferred away from the school, unable to bear seeing Ami while knowing the dangers that surrounded the Sailor Guardians. The fourth carrier was Yumemi Umeno, a talented painter whose artwork captured dreamlike visions of beauty and fantasy. Her paintings were known for their ethereal quality and emotional depth, often depicting angelic figures and celestial scenes. Yumemi worked from a private studio where she could focus on bringing her visions to life through her art. The green rainbow crystal within her may have influenced her artistic inspiration, giving her images an otherworldly quality that moved viewers deeply. When transformed, she became Bina, an angel-like Yuma with the ability to trap people within paintings and manipulate artistic imagery as weapons. Her pure white wings and graceful appearance made her one of the more visually striking of the 7 great Yuma. After purification, Umemi found her artistic vision had changed, though she could not explain how or why. The 5th carrier was Reika Nishimura, a college student at Azabu Technical College and the girlfriend of Motoki Furuhata, who worked at the Game Center Crown Arcade. Reika was intelligent, kind, and deeply committed to her studies and her dream of traveling to Africa to pursue research and make a difference in the world. Her relationship with Motoki was tested by her upcoming departure for Africa, as both struggled with the prospect of a long-distance relationship. The blue rainbow crystal within Reika transformed her into Riku Kedar, a Yuma with scientific and technological abilities that could manipulate laboratory equipment and chemical reactions. The battle to save her took place at her college, endangering both her and Motoki, who had come to see her. After purification, Reika proceeded with her plans to study in Africa, leaving Motoki behind as they agreed to write to each other and maintain their connection despite the distance. The 6th carrier was someone very close to the Sailor Guardians themselves, Grandpa Hino, Rei's grandfather, and the head priest of Hikawa Shrine. The elderly priest was known for his mischievous personality and his appreciation for attractive young women, which frequently embarrassed his granddaughter Rei. Despite his somewhat inappropriate behavior, he was a dedicated priest who maintained the shrine and served his community faithfully. The indigo rainbow crystal within him transformed him into Gigi, an Oni-style Yuma with a demonic appearance, complete with horns and traditional Japanese demon characteristics. His transformation was particularly distressing for Rei, who had to watch her grandfather become a monster. The battle at Hikawa Shrine caused significant damage to the sacred grounds. After purification, Grandpa Hino returned to normal with no memory of the event, though he seemed slightly more subdued in his behavior, at least temporarily. The 7th and final carrier was revealed in an unexpected and somewhat comical twist. The violet rainbow crystal was hidden within a large, overweight cat named Rhett Butler, who belonged to a young girl. The cat lived a pampered life, beloved by his owner, despite his considerable size and lazy habits. He would spend most of his days sleeping and eating, living the peaceful existence of a well-cared-for pet. When the crystal was extracted, Rhett Butler transformed into Bakane, a cat-like Yuma with the ability to shapeshift and create illusions. Despite his formidable powers, Bakane retained some of the laziness of his feline nature, making him less aggressive than some of the other great Yuma. The battle to save him had to be conducted carefully to avoid traumatizing the young girl who loved her pet. After purification, Rhett Butler returned to his normal life of comfortable laziness, unaware of his brief time as a supernatural threat. The gathering of all 7 rainbow crystals brought them together for the first time since the fall of the Silver Millennium. When assembled, the crystals could reveal the location of the legendary silver crystal itself, making their collection crucial to Queen Beryl's plans. However, the process of hunting these crystals had also awakened memories and triggered events that would lead to profound revelations about the identities of both Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask. The tragedy of these 7 carriers demonstrated the far-reaching consequences of the ancient war between the Moon Kingdom and the Dark Kingdom. Innocent people in the present day suffered for conflicts they had no part in, chosen as vessels for dark power simply because their goodness made them suitable containers. Their stories reinforced the Sailor Guardians' understanding that their mission was not just about fighting evil, but about protecting and saving victims who had been caught up in supernatural conflicts beyond their control or comprehension. Each carrier returned to their normal life after purification, most with no memory of their terrifying transformations. Yet their involvement in these events had not been meaningless. The battles fought to save them brought the Sailor Guardians closer together, tested their resolve to save rather than destroy, and ultimately led to the revelations that would define the final confrontation with the Dark Kingdom. The 7 carriers had been unwitting participants in a cosmic drama, their suffering serving as the catalyst for truth and transformation. Another carrier was an unnamed priest who worked at a cemetery where many people came to pay respects to deceased loved ones. He was a kind man dedicated to helping people cope with grief and loss. When transformed, he became Boxy, a Yuma that could manipulate coffins and grave markers as weapons, while retaining some of his pastoral concern for others. The boxer Joe Maya was another carrier, known in the professional boxing world for his determination and fighting spirit. His transformation created a Yuma with enhanced physical strength and fighting techniques that reflected his boxing background. A talented artist who created beautiful sculptures became Bakane, a Yoma with the ability to manipulate clay and stone. The artist's creative passion was twisted into a destructive force that could reshape the environment into dangerous obstacles and traps. Ryo Urawa, a student at Juban Junior High School who had developed romantic feelings for Ami, was revealed to be another carrier. Ryo was a quiet, studious boy with an interest in geology and crystals. His transformation into Bunbo created a Yuma with crystal-based abilities, though his feelings for Ami remained even in Yuma form, creating internal conflict within the monster. A young veterinarian who cared for animals was also discovered to be a carrier. His transformation was particularly tragic as his love for animals was twisted into something harmful to the creatures he had dedicated his life to protecting. Each time a rainbow crystal was extracted, the Sailor Guardians faced the dual challenge of defeating the Yuma while trying to save the innocent person trapped within. Sailor Moon's moon healing escalation ability could restore the transformed victims to their normal human state, but only after the Yuma had been sufficiently weakened in battle. As more rainbow crystals were recovered, they began to resonate with each other and with Sailor Moon's silver crystal. This resonance triggered stronger memories of the past and increased the power available to both the Sailor Guardians and their enemies. Jadeite was the first of Queen Beryl's generals to actively hunt for energy in modern Tokyo. As the youngest of the 4 kings, he approached his missions with enthusiasm and confidence, though his tactics often relied on brute force rather than subtlety. Jadeite specialized in large-scale energy-gathering operations that targeted crowds of people simultaneously. His schemes frequently involved infiltrating popular locations and businesses throughout Tokyo. One of his most ambitious plans involved taking over a fitness center where he used exercise equipment modified to drain energy from health-conscious customers. The victims believed they were simply working out, unaware that their life force was being stolen with each repetition and movement. Another operation saw Jadeite establish a bus service that transported passengers to a pocket dimension where they were drained of energy while trapped. The buses appeared normal, but were actually magical constructs that could travel between dimensions. Passengers would board expecting a normal commute, only to find themselves unable to escape as their energy was systematically harvested. Jadeite also attempted to use a radio station to broadcast subliminal messages that would lure listeners to specific locations for energy harvesting. His understanding of modern technology and media made him effective at reaching large numbers of potential victims, though his plans were consistently thwarted by Sailor Moon and the awakening Sailor Guardians. His overconfidence eventually led to his downfall. After multiple failures, Jadeite became frustrated and attempted to eliminate the Sailor Guardians directly by luring them to an airport where he planned to use an airplane as a weapon. This confrontation ended with Jadeite being defeated and Queen Beryl punishing him by sealing him in eternal sleep within a crystal, where he would remain frozen and aware but unable to move or speak. Following Jadeite's failure, Nephrite took command of the Dark Kingdom's operations on Earth. Unlike his predecessor, Nephrite employed a more sophisticated strategy that focused on quality over quantity. Rather than attempting to drain energy from large crowds, he identified individuals with exceptional energy potential and targeted them specifically. Nephrite was a master of astrology and used the stars to identify optimal targets and timing for his operations. He would study the night sky from his mansion, using a telescope and astrological charts to pinpoint individuals whose stars indicated they possessed particularly strong life energy. This method was more time-consuming than Jadeite's mass harvesting, but yielded purer and more potent energy. His technique involved marking his chosen targets with a curse through an object they owned or cared about. He would infuse these items with dark energy, which would gradually corrupt the victim's emotions and amplify their strongest feelings until the energy peaked. At that moment, the cursed object would transform into a Yuma that would attack the victim and extract their energy at its maximum potency. Nephrite maintained a human disguise as Masato Sanjuin, a wealthy and sophisticated gentleman who moved in high society circles. This persona allowed him to approach targets directly and study them closely before marking them for energy extraction. His charisma and charm made people trust him, never suspecting that he was setting them up for attack. During his time on Earth, Nephrite developed genuine feelings for Naru, Usagi's best friend. These emotions confused and troubled him, as they contradicted his mission and loyalty to Queen Beryl. Naru's sincere affection and concern for him awakened something within Nephrite that had been suppressed since his corruption by Metalia's dark energy. In his final mission, Nephrite discovered the identity of the Sailor Guardians and planned to report this crucial information to Queen Beryl. However, Zoisite, jealous of Nephrite's success and seeking to advance his own position, arranged for Nephrite to be attacked by multiple Yuma. Mortally wounded, Nephrite used his last strength to reach Naru, dying in her arms, while finally acknowledging that his feelings for her had been real. His death marked the first time one of the Dark Kingdom's servants had experienced genuine redemption through love. Zoisite took control of operations after Nephrite's death, bringing a level of calculated cruelty and strategic thinking that his predecessors had lacked. He was the most intelligent and manipulative of the four kings, preferring elaborate schemes and psychological warfare to direct confrontation. His partnership with Kunzite, the strongest of the generals, gave him both protection and additional resources for his plans. Zoisite's primary mission was to locate the 7 rainbow crystals before the Sailor Guardians could secure them. He understood that these crystals, when combined, could reveal the location of the silver crystal, making them invaluable to Queen Beryl's plans. His approach involved careful research to identify the crystal carriers and swift strikes to extract the crystals before the Guardians could interfere. Unlike Nephrite, Zoisite showed no hesitation about harming innocent people in pursuit of his goals. He viewed the crystal carriers as nothing more than containers for the objects he sought, showing no concern for their well-being or the pain caused by the extraction process. His cold efficiency made him particularly dangerous, as he felt no moral conflict about his actions. Zoisite often used disguises and deception to approach his targets. He could take on various human forms and personalities to get close to the crystal carriers without raising suspicion. His magical abilities allowed him to sense the presence of the rainbow crystals, making him more effective at locating them than the Sailor Guardians, who relied primarily on investigating Yuma attacks and hoping to encounter carriers by chance. His relationship with Kunzite was both professional and personal, with the two sharing a deep bond that transcended their service to the Dark Kingdom. Kunzite's power and experience complemented Zoisite's cunning and ambition, making them an effective team. However, Zoisite's jealousy and desire for recognition often led him to act rashly or disobey Queen Beryl's orders when he felt his achievements were not being properly acknowledged. Zoisite's downfall came when he defied Queen Beryl's direct command. After successfully obtaining all 7 rainbow crystals, Zoisite attempted to use them to kill Tuxedo Mask, whom Queen Beryl had ordered captured alive. This betrayal was motivated by Zoisite's jealousy of Beryl's interest in Endymion and his desire to prove himself the most valuable servant. Queen Beryl executed Zoisite herself for this disobedience, killing him with her own dark magic while a devastated Kunzite watched helplessly. Kunzite, the eldest and most powerful of the four heavenly kings, took personal command of operations after Zoisite's execution. His approach combined overwhelming force with strategic brilliance, making him the most dangerous opponent the Sailor Guardians had faced. Unlike the others, Kunzite had complete control over his emotions and never allowed personal feelings to compromise his missions. His magical abilities far exceeded those of the other generals. Kunzite could manipulate energy on a massive scale, creating barriers that could withstand the combined attacks of all the Sailor Guardians. His signature technique involved generating sword-like energy blades that could cut through nearly any defense. He could also teleport across great distances and create illusions sophisticated enough to deceive even the spiritually sensitive Sailor Mars. Kunzite's strategy focused on eliminating the Sailor Guardians rather than simply collecting energy. He recognized that as long as the Guardians remained active, they would continue to interfere with the Dark Kingdom's plans. His campaigns involved direct assaults designed to separate and overwhelm the Guardians, exploiting any weakness in their teamwork or individual abilities. One of his most effective tactics involved creating situations where the Guardians would be forced to fight without Sailor Moon's support, knowing that she was the most powerful among them. He also attempted to break their trust in each other through manipulation and deception, understanding that their greatest strength was their friendship and unity. Despite his cold demeanor and absolute loyalty to Queen Beryl, Kunzite retained deep feelings for Zoisite even after his partner's death. This loss affected him in subtle ways, making him more ruthless in his attacks as he sought to honor Zoisite's memory through success where his partner had failed. However, Kunzite never allowed these emotions to cloud his judgment or compromise his effectiveness in battle. In the final battles, Kunzite proved to be a nearly insurmountable obstacle. The Sailor Guardians required all their combined power and the support of Tuxedo Mask to finally defeat him. Even then, his defeat came only after a prolonged battle that pushed the Guardians to their absolute limits. His death marked the end of the four heavenly kings and paved the way for the final confrontation with Queen Beryl herself. The tragedy of the four heavenly kings lay in their original identities as noble protectors of Prince Endymion. The corruption they suffered under Queen Metalia's influence had twisted them from loyal guardians into servants of evil, forever separating them from their true purpose and their prince. Their stories served as a reminder of how even the strongest warriors could fall to darkness when their hearts were corrupted by negative emotions and malevolent power. As the conflict with the Dark Kingdom intensified, the four heavenly kings who served Queen Beryl became more directly involved in the battles. These four men, Jadeite, Nephrite, Zoisite, and Kunzite, were Queen Beryl's most powerful generals, each possessing unique abilities and approaches to gathering energy for their master. Jadeite was the first and youngest of the kings, responsible for many of the early Yuma attacks throughout Tokyo. He specialized in operations involving large crowds and public gatherings, using Yuma disguised as popular trends or services to collect energy efficiently. His defeat by the Sailor Guardians led Queen Beryl to punish him by trapping him in eternal sleep within a crystal. Nephrite took over operations after Jadeite's defeat, using a different approach that focused on targeting individuals with strong energy potential rather than large groups. He operated from a mansion where he studied astrology and astronomy to identify optimal targets and timing for attacks. Nephrite's method involved corrupting objects belonging to his targets, which would then transform into Yuma under the influence of the target's emotional energy. During his mission, Nephrite became attracted to Naru, a young girl who was friends with Usagi. This attraction awakened conflicted emotions within him and created internal struggle between his mission for Queen Beryl and his growing feelings for a human. Ultimately, Nephrite's questioning of his orders led to his death at the hands of Zoisite's Yuma, but not before he had begun to experience genuine human emotions. Zoisite was the third king to take an active role, partnering with Kunzite in the search for the rainbow crystals. Zoisite was known for his beauty intelligence, and ruthless methods. He felt competitive with the other kings and was determined to prove his superiority by succeeding where they had failed. His relationship with Kunzite was close, with Kunzite serving as both partner and mentor. Zoisite's approach involved careful planning and manipulation, often using disguises and elaborate schemes to obtain the rainbow crystals. He was particularly skilled at exploiting human weaknesses and emotions to achieve his goals. However, his arrogance and cruelty ultimately led to conflicts with Queen Beryl when he disobeyed her direct orders. Kunzite was the eldest and most powerful of the four kings, serving as Queen Beryl's chief general. He possessed immense magical power and strategic intelligence that made him the most dangerous opponent the Sailor Guardians had faced. Kunzite's loyalty to Queen Beryl seemed absolute, and his battles with the Sailor Guardians were marked by his cold efficiency and tactical superiority. The four kings represented an escalating threat throughout the first season, each more powerful and dangerous than the last. Their individual defeats marked the Sailor Guardians' growth in power and experience, preparing them for the final confrontation with Queen Beryl herself. Let's continue exploring as we approach the final confrontation at D Point and the climactic battle with Queen Beryl. The search for the rainbow crystals ultimately led to a confrontation at a location called D Point, an area in the Arctic where Queen Beryl had established a portal to the Dark Kingdom. This remote, frozen wasteland became the staging ground for the final battle between the forces of good and evil. Queen Beryl had been using the collected energy and rainbow crystals to gradually revive Queen Metalia, whose power had been sealed within the earth since the destruction of the Silver Millennium. As Metalia's strength returned, her influence over the world began to manifest through natural disasters and widespread negative emotions among the human population. The Sailor Guardians traveled to D Point, knowing that this would likely be their final battle. The harsh Arctic environment created additional challenges, as they had to deal with extreme cold and treacherous terrain while fighting for their lives against powerful enemies. During the battle, each of the Sailor Guardians was forced to make ultimate sacrifices to protect Sailor Moon and give her the chance to reach Queen Beryl. The Guardians fought against overwhelming odds, using their powers to their absolute limits to clear a path through the Dark Kingdom's forces. Sailor Mars was the first to fall, using her spiritual powers to create a barrier that protected her friends while she faced impossible odds against multiple enemies. Her sacrifice allowed the others to advance further into the Dark Kingdom's stronghold, but left the team without her fire-based attacks and purification abilities. Sailor Mercury followed, using her analytical skills and water powers to solve a crucial puzzle that opened the way forward. Her sacrifice ensured that the remaining Guardians could continue their mission, though they lost her strategic guidance and defensive capabilities. Sailor Jupiter made her stand against a massive group of enemies, using her physical strength and lightning attacks to hold them back while her friends escaped. Her protective instincts drove her to fight until her strength was completely exhausted, giving her life to protect those she cared about. Sailor Venus, as the leader of the Inner Guardians, was the last to fall before Sailor Moon reached Queen Beryl. Her experience and leadership had guided the team through their most difficult challenges, and her final sacrifice embodied the dedication and love that defined the Sailor Guardians. Tuxedo Mask also fell during the battle, struck down while protecting Sailor Moon from a direct attack by Queen Beryl. His death devastated Sailor Moon and triggered the full awakening of her memories as Princess Serenity, along with the complete power of the Silver Crystal. The revelation that Sailor Moon was actually the reincarnated Princess Serenity brought the tragic story full circle. She was the same princess whose death in the ancient war had motivated Queen Serenity's final sacrifice. Now, faced with the loss of all her friends and the man she loved, Princess Serenity had to find the strength to face Queen Beryl and Queen Metalia alone. Queen Beryl's final confrontation with Princess Serenity took place in the heart of the Dark Kingdom, where Queen Metalia's power was strongest. Beryl had absorbed massive amounts of Metalia's dark energy, transforming her into a being of immense power, but also completing her corruption into a creature of pure malice and jealousy. In this enhanced form, Queen Beryl retained her intelligence and memories, but lost any remaining trace of the human woman she had once been. Her obsession with Prince Endymion had grown into a twisted desire to possess him even in death, and her hatred of Princess Serenity had become an all-consuming rage. The battle between Princess Serenity and Queen Beryl was both physical and emotional, as Serenity had to overcome not only her enemy's power, but also her own grief and despair. The silver crystal responded to Serenity's pure heart and desperate love for her fallen friends, granting her the power needed to face Queen Beryl as an equal. During the fight, Queen Beryl revealed the full extent of her past obsession and the depth of her corruption by Queen Metalia. She had convinced herself that her actions were justified by love, refusing to acknowledge that her feelings had been twisted into something destructive and selfish. Princess Serenity's victory over Queen Beryl was achieved not through hatred or revenge, but through the power of love and the desire to protect others. The silver crystal's energy was fueled by Serenity's pure emotions and her determination to save both the Earth and her friends. Even it meant sacrificing herself in the process. However, defeating Queen Beryl was only the first part of the challenge. Queen Metalia, partially revived by the energy Beryl had collected, emerged as the true final enemy. Metalia was a being of pure evil and destruction, seeking to consume all life and light in the universe. The battle with Queen Metalia required Princess Serenity to use the full power of the silver crystal, knowing that doing so would likely cost her life, just as it had cost her mother's life in the ancient past. Faced with this terrible choice, Serenity chose to repeat her mother's sacrifice, using the crystal's power to seal Metalia away once again. The victory came at the cost of Princess Serenity's life, but the power of the silver crystal carried her final wish, that all her friends could live normal, happy lives. This wish resulted in the restoration of everyone who had died during the battle, though they would have no memories of their time as Sailor Guardians. Resurrection and new beginnings. The power of the silver crystal and Princess Serenity's selfless wish created a miraculous resurrection that restored all the fallen Sailor Guardians and Tuxedo Mask to life. However, this restoration came with the cost of their memories, as they awakened with no recollection of their battles or their magical identities. Usagi, Rei, Ami, Makoto, and Minako returned to their normal lives as ordinary junior high school students. Mamoru resumed his life as a high school student, though he retained some vague memories in the form of dreams. Luna and Artemis also lost their ability to speak and reverted to being ordinary cats, though they retained their intelligence and mission. This return to normalcy was intended to give everyone the peaceful lives they deserved after their sacrifices. However, the restoration was not permanent, as new threats would eventually require the Sailor Guardians to awaken once again to protect the Earth. Before the main events of the R-season began, a significant threat emerged in the form of an alien being named Fiore, whose connection to Mamoru dated back to their childhood. This encounter would test the newly restored relationships between the Sailor Guardians and reveal the strength of the bonds they had reformed. When Mamoru was a young child, shortly after the car accident that killed his parents, he had been a patient in a hospital where he met Fiore. Fiore was not human, but belonged to an alien species that resembled beautiful, androgynous beings with plant-like characteristics. At the time of their meeting, Fiore was young and alone, having become separated from his people. The friendship between young Mamoru and Fiore was based on their shared loneliness and sense of isolation. Mamoru was grieving the loss of his parents and struggling to adapt to life as an orphan, while Fiore was lost and far from his home world. They found comfort in each other's company during Mamoru's recovery period. When it came time for Fiore to leave Earth and return to space, Mamoru gave him a single red rose as a token of their friendship. This gesture of kindness meant a great deal to Fiore, who treasured the rose and the memory of their friendship throughout his long journey through space. During his travels, Fiore encountered a malevolent entity known as the Cassenian flower, also called the Xenian flower. This organism was a parasitic life form that fed on the life energy of other beings and had the ability to influence and corrupt those it came into contact with. The Cassenian flower sensed Fiore's loneliness and attachment to his human friend, using these emotions to manipulate him. Under the Cassenian flower's influence, Fiore's love for Mamoru became twisted into an obsessive desire to protect him from all perceived threats, including other people who might care about him. The flower convinced Fiore that humans were inherently evil and that Mamoru would be better off if he were separated from human society entirely. Fiore returned to Earth with the power to control plant life and an army of Cassenian flowers. His plan was to drain the life energy from all humans on Earth, which would both feed the Cassenian flowers and create a world where only he and Mamoru could exist together. He believed this would be a gift to his childhood friend, freeing him from the pain and conflict that came with human relationships. The attack began with Cassenian flowers appearing throughout Tokyo and other major cities around the world. These flowers could drain life energy from anyone who came near them, causing people to collapse and fall into comas. The widespread nature of the attack made it clear that this was a threat to all humanity, not just Tokyo. When Fiore revealed himself to Mamoru, he was shocked by his friend's transformed appearance and hostile intentions. Fiore had become more plant-like in his features, with flowing green hair and an otherworldly beauty that reflected his alien nature. His personality had also changed, becoming cold and dismissive toward humanity while remaining obsessively devoted to Mamoru. The Sailor Guardians, who had recently regained their memories and powers, found themselves facing an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. Fiore's plant-based abilities allowed him to control the environment itself, creating barriers of thorns and vines while commanding an endless supply of energy-draining flowers. The battle with Fiore took place both on Earth and in space, as he had established his base on an asteroid that he directed toward Earth. His plan was to use the asteroid's impact to destroy human civilization while protecting Mamoru in a special garden where they could live together forever. During the final confrontation, Mamoru tried to reach the part of Fiore that remembered their childhood friendship. He reminded Fiore of the rose he had given him and the pure, innocent nature of their original bond. This emotional appeal began to weaken the Cassenian flower's hold on Fiore's mind. Sailor Moon's healing abilities proved effective against the Cassenian flower's corruption, but using them required her to expend enormous amounts of energy. The battle reached its climax when Sailor Moon used the full power of the silver crystal to purify both Fiore and his asteroid, saving Earth but apparently sacrificing her own life in the process. The power of Sailor Moon's sacrifice and the purity of her intentions awakened Fiore's true memories and freed him completely from the Cassenian flower's influence. Grateful for the lesson about true love and friendship that Sailor Moon had taught him, Fiore used his own life force to restore her, repaying the debt of kindness that had begun with Mamoru's gift of a single rose. Following the resolution of the Fiore crisis, the Sailor Guardians retained their memories and continued their normal lives while remaining alert for new threats. Ale and Anne, the Makai aliens. The peaceful period following the Fiore incident was interrupted by the arrival of two alien beings who would introduce the Sailor Guardians to threats from beyond Earth. These aliens, known as Ale and Anne, belonged to a species that had lost their homeworld and survived by draining energy from other life forms. Ale and Anne's true forms were tall, elegant beings with pointed ears and an otherworldly beauty. However, they possessed the ability to disguise themselves as humans, which they used to blend into Tokyo society while carrying out their mission to collect energy for their survival. As humans, Ale took the identity of Seijiro Ginga, a handsome and mysterious transfer student who enrolled at Juban Junior High School. His human appearance featured dark hair and an aloof personality that attracted the attention of many female students, including Usagi, who developed a temporary crush on him, and disguised herself as Natsumi Ginga, claiming to be Seijiro's sister. In this form, she had long red hair and a more outgoing personality than Aile's reserved demeanor. She became immediately attracted to Mamoru, pursuing him romantically despite his obvious discomfort with her attention. The relationship between Aile and Anne was complex, as they were both partners in survival and rivals in love. Each had developed feelings for their respective human targets, which created tension in their previously close relationship. Neither fully understood the nature of human love, which led to misunderstandings and jealousy. Their source of power and life was the Makai tree, also known as the Tree of Life. This enormous plant-like being served as both their home and their parent, having created Aile and Anne to serve as its caretakers and energy gatherers. The tree had sustained their species for countless generations, but was now dying due to the loss of their homeworld. The Makai tree required regular infusions of life energy to survive, which Aile and Anne collected by creating Cardian monsters to steal energy from humans. These Cardians were different from the Yuma of the Dark Kingdom, as they were manifestations of the tree's power rather than corrupted humans or objects. Each Cardian was based on a specific theme or concept, often related to popular activities or locations in Tokyo. They would appear at places where large numbers of people gathered, draining their energy to feed the Makai tree. The affected humans would collapse and fall unconscious, though they typically recovered once the Cardian was destroyed. Luna and Artemis were the first to sense the renewed threat, as their memories and abilities had been maintained. They worked to guide the Sailor Guardians in their battles against the Cardians, helping them understand this new type of enemy. The process of fighting the Cardians allowed the Sailor Guardians to develop their teamwork and abilities further. Each battle taught them new strategies and helped them understand their roles as protectors of Earth more deeply. The Makai tree's true nature and redemption. As the conflict with Aile and Anne continued, the Sailor Guardians began to understand that their opponents were not purely evil, but were acting out of desperation and a fundamental misunderstanding about the nature of life and love. This realization would lead to a very different resolution than their previous battles. The Makai tree's condition continued to deteriorate despite the regular energy feedings provided by the Cardians. Aile and Anne became increasingly desperate as they realized that their current methods were not sufficient to save their dying parent and home. This desperation led them to escalate their attacks and create more powerful Cardians. During this period, both Aile and Anne began to experience human emotions more deeply through their interactions with Mamoru and Usagi. Aile's time as Seijiro exposed him to concepts of friendship, kindness, and selfless love that were foreign to his species' survival-focused existence. Similarly, Anne's pursuit of Mamoru taught her about rejection, jealousy, and the pain of unrequited love. These emotional experiences created internal conflicts within both aliens, as their growing understanding of human feelings clashed with their mission to drain energy from humans to save the Makai tree. They began to question whether their survival was worth the suffering they were causing to innocent people. The situation reached a crisis point when the Makai tree's hunger became so great that it began attacking Aile and Anne themselves, trying to drain their life energy to sustain itself. This betrayal shocked the aliens and forced them to confront the possibility that their relationship with the tree had become unhealthy and parasitic. During the final battle, Sailor Moon attempted to heal the Makai tree rather than destroy it. Recognizing that the tree itself was not evil, but was acting out of pain and hunger. Her healing power revealed the tree's true nature as a being that had once thrived on love and positive energy, rather than stolen life force. The Makai tree's original form had been sustained by the love and care of its children, creating a symbiotic relationship based on mutual affection rather than parasitic energy drain. However, the loss of its home world and the trauma of survival had corrupted this relationship, causing the tree to forget how to accept love and only remember how to take energy by force. Sailor Moon's healing power restored the tree's memories of its true nature and its original loving relationship with Ale and An. This restoration also healed the aliens' understanding of love, teaching them the difference between possessive desire and genuine affection. With their relationship restored to its proper balance, the Makai tree no longer needed to steal energy from others. Instead, it could sustain itself through the natural love and care provided by Ale and An, who had learned to truly love each other rather than compete for external validation. The resolution of this conflict demonstrated the power of understanding and compassion to transform enemies into allies. Ale and An departed Earth peacefully, taking the healed Makai tree to find a new homeworld where they could live without harming others. Let's continue exploring as we encounter Chibiusa and the Black Moon clan. The peaceful period following Ale and An's departure was shattered by the arrival of a mysterious pink-haired child who literally fell from the sky into Usagi's life. This child, who called herself Chibiusa, possessed an unusual appearance, with distinctive pink hair styled in twin buns, similar to Usagi's hairstyle. Chibiusa appeared to be approximately 6 years old, but displayed knowledge and abilities that seemed beyond her apparent age. Her arrival was accompanied by strange phenomena and an immediate sense of urgency about a mission only she understood. Chibiusa's first action upon arriving was to approach Usagi and demand that she hand over the silver crystal. This request shocked everyone present, as very few people knew of the crystal's existence, and even fewer would dare to demand it so boldly. When Usagi refused, Chibiusa revealed a gun and attempted to force compliance. The gun turned out to be a toy that produced a flower and hypnotic dust, allowing Chibiusa to manipulate Usagi's family into believing that she was Usagi's cousin visiting from the countryside. This manipulation was sophisticated enough to alter their memories and create false documentation supporting the cover story. Chibiusa's presence in the Tsukino household created numerous complications, as she seemed determined to compete with Usagi for attention and resources. She displayed a particular interest in Mamoru, often acting affectionately toward him in ways that made Usagi jealous and suspicious. Despite her childlike appearance, Chibiusa possessed advanced technology and knowledge that clearly indicated she was not from the present time. Her communicator device was far more sophisticated than anything available in 20th century Tokyo, and she occasionally made references to future events or people. The mystery surrounding Chibiusa's identity deepened when it became clear that she was being pursued by enemies from her own time period. These pursuers were members of an organization called the Black Moon Clan, led by a man known as Prince Diamond. The Black Moon Clan's arrival in the present was marked by the appearance of dark crystal formations throughout Tokyo. These crystals, known as dark energy points, created areas of negative energy that affected the emotions and behavior of people in their vicinity. The crystals also served as beacons that allowed the clan members to travel between their time period and the present. Prince Diamond was an imposing figure with long white hair and elaborate clothing that reflected his royal status within the clan. He possessed powerful psychic abilities and was utterly devoted to a mysterious figure called Wiseman, who served as the clan's spiritual leader and strategic advisor. Diamond's obsession with Neo Queen Serenity, the future version of Sailor Moon, had motivated his rebellion against the utopian society of 30th century Crystal Tokyo. He believed that the Queen's reign had created a stagnant world without conflict or growth, and he sought to replace her perfect society with his own vision of freedom through chaos. The Black Moon Clan's other members each possessed unique abilities and shared Diamond's belief that Crystal Tokyo's peaceful society was fundamentally wrong. Sapphire, Diamond's younger brother, could create and manipulate dark crystal formations that served as conduits for the clan's power. The four sisters, Koon, Berthie, Pets, and Calaveras, served as the clan's primary operatives in the present. Each of the four sisters targeted a specific Sailor Guardian, using their knowledge of the future to exploit personal weaknesses and insecurities. Their attacks were psychological as well as physical, designed to break down the Guardians' confidence and teamwork through targeted emotional manipulation. The Black Moon Clan's operations on 20th century Earth were largely conducted by 4 sisters known as the Ayakashi sisters. These women served under Rubus and were tasked with creating dark power spots throughout Tokyo to corrupt the planet's energy and make it suitable for invasion. Each sister possessed unique abilities and personalities, and their stories would become among the most poignant in the entire Sailor Moon saga, demonstrating that even enemies corrupted by dark power could find redemption through compassion and understanding. Koan was the youngest of the 4 sisters and served as the first to directly confront the Sailor Guardians. She specialized in fire-based attacks and could generate intense flames from her hands. Her personality was passionate and emotional, prone to dramatic outbursts and intense feelings. Koan had developed an obsessive attraction to Rubus, her superior in the Black Moon Clan, desperately seeking his approval and affection, despite his cold indifference to her feelings. Her missions involved creating dark power spots at locations associated with spirituality and divination, attempting to corrupt these places of positive energy. This brought her into repeated conflict with Sailor Mars, whose own fire powers and spiritual abilities made her Koan's natural rival. The two engaged in several battles, with Koan becoming increasingly frustrated by her inability to defeat the Sailor Guardian. Koan's obsession with Rubius blinded her to his manipulative nature. He used her feelings to control her, sending her on increasingly dangerous missions while showing her no genuine care or concern. When she finally failed one too many times, Rubius coldly abandoned her, revealing that she had been nothing more than a disposable tool to him. Betrayed and heartbroken, Koan was prepared to die in a final explosive attack. However, Sailor Moon refused to let this happen. Rather than simply defeating Koan, Sailor Moon reached out to her with compassion, using the Silver Crystal's power to purify the dark energy that had corrupted her. This act of mercy shocked Koan, who had never experienced such kindness from an enemy. Freed from the Black Moon Clan's corruption, Koan transformed back into a normal human woman and was given a chance to live a peaceful life. She and her sisters would eventually open a cosmetics shop together, finding happiness in ordinary human existence. Berthier, the second sister, was intellectual and strategic in her approach to missions. She specialized in water and ice-based attacks and possessed analytical abilities that allowed her to study her opponents and develop tactical advantages. Unlike her more emotional younger sister, Berthier maintained a cool, composed demeanor and took pride in her intelligence and planning skills. Her missions brought her into conflict with Sailor Mercury, as both were analytical fighters who relied on strategy rather than raw power. Berthier took particular satisfaction in challenging Mercury's reputation as the intellectual of the Sailor Guardians, seeing their confrontations as a battle of minds as well as powers. She would carefully analyze Mercury's tactics and abilities, developing countermeasures designed to exploit any weaknesses she detected. Like Koan, Berthier also sought Rubus's approval and affection, though she expressed it differently. Rather than passionate outbursts, she demonstrated her worth through successful missions and careful planning. She believed that her intelligence and reliability would make Rubus value her more than her sisters. However, she too would learn that Rubus cared nothing for any of them, seeing all 4 sisters as expendable pawns in the Black Moon Clan's larger strategy. When Berthier's plans repeatedly failed to eliminate the Sailor Guardians, Rubeus abandoned her just as he had Koan. Prepared to freeze herself in a prison of ice rather than face the shame of failure, Berthier was saved by her younger sister Koan, who had experienced Sailor Moon's mercy and now wanted to offer the same compassion to her siblings. With the Sailor Guardians' help, Berthier was purified and freed from the Black Moon Clan's corruption, joining Koan in beginning a new life. Pets, the third sister, was the most physically powerful of the 4 and specialized in lightning-based attacks. Her personality was fierce and aggressive, preferring direct confrontation to subtle strategy. She was protective of her younger sisters, particularly Koan, and her anger at Rubus for abandoning them fueled her determination in battle. Her primary opponent was Sailor Jupiter, whose own lightning powers and physical strength made them evenly matched in combat. Their battles were intense displays of raw power, with thunderbolts and electrical attacks illuminating the battlefield. Pets respected strength and found Jupiter to be a worthy adversary, even as she remained committed to defeating her. Pets harbored complicated feelings toward her sisters, particularly a rivalry with Calaveras, the eldest. The two had a strained relationship marked by competition and disagreement, though underneath lay genuine sisterly bonds that had been corrupted by the Black Moon clan's influence. Her mission assignments often brought these tensions to the surface, as she struggled between following orders and protecting her siblings. When Rubius's betrayals were revealed, Pets's rage was explosive. She channeled her fury into increasingly reckless attacks, determined to prove her worth or die trying. However, her younger sisters, already purified and freed, reached out to her with the same compassion they had received. Pets's fierce exterior cracked as she realized that her sister's love and the Sailor Guardian's mercy were genuine, unlike anything she had experienced in the Black Moon clan. Purified of dark energy, Pets joined her sisters in their new peaceful existence. Calaveras, the eldest of the four sisters, was sophisticated and cunning. She specialized in dark energy manipulation and possessed abilities as a spiritual medium, able to channel spirits. She wielded a pair of enchanted bullwhips called Dark Butte as her primary weapons. Her approach to missions emphasized manipulation and deception rather than direct combat, using guile and charm to achieve her objectives. Her personality was more mature and controlled than her sisters, though she shared their desire for Rubus's recognition. Calaveras believed that her experience and sophistication made her the most valuable of the four, and she sometimes looked down on her younger sisters' more straightforward approaches. This created tension, particularly with Pets, whose direct nature clashed with Calaveras's preference for subtlety. Calaveras's missions often involved infiltrating social situations and corrupting them from within, using her charm and manipulation skills to create dark power spots in places where people gathered. She was skilled at reading people and exploiting their weaknesses, making her particularly dangerous in psychological warfare. However, Calaveras was also the most aware of Rubeus's true nature. She recognized his manipulation tactics because she employed similar methods herself. Despite this awareness, she continued to serve him, perhaps hoping that her loyalty would eventually be rewarded, or perhaps simply having nowhere else to go. When Rubeus finally revealed his complete disregard for all four sisters, Calaveras was wounded, but not entirely surprised. Her sisters' redemption and their genuine care for her, despite their past conflicts, touched something in Calaveras that the Black Moon clan's corruption had tried to destroy. The realization that her sisters loved her without manipulation or conditions, and that even the Sailor Guardians were willing to show mercy rather than judgment, broke through her sophisticated defenses. Purified and freed, Calaveras became the fourth sister to abandon the Black Moon clan and embrace a chance at normal life. The transformation of the Ayakashi sisters from enemies to redeemed individuals represented a significant development in the Sailor Moon narrative. It established that enemies were not simply evil to be destroyed, but could be victims of corruption who deserved compassion and the chance to change. This theme would recur throughout later seasons, as the Sailor Guardians learned to see past immediate threats to the humanity that remained in their opponents. The sisters' successful redemption also demonstrated the power of the Silver Crystal, not just as a weapon, but as a force for healing and restoration. Sailor Moon's willingness to extend mercy even to those who had tried to harm her showed a maturity and wisdom beyond her years, setting an example that would influence her fellow Guardians and shape their approach to future conflicts. For the sisters themselves, their redemption meant escaping a life of servitude and manipulation to find genuine peace and happiness. Opening a cosmetics shop together, they built lives based on cooperation, mutual support, and honest work. rather than the competitive hierarchy and betrayal that had characterized their time in the Black Moon clan. Their story proved that it was never too late to change, and that even those corrupted by dark power could find their way back to the light with help and compassion. The escalating conflict with the Black Moon clan eventually forced a revelation that would change everything the Sailor Guardians thought they knew about their future and their ultimate destiny. When Chibiusa's true identity and origin were revealed, it opened the door to a journey through time that would show them the consequences of their current actions. Chibiusa was revealed to be Small Lady Serenity, the daughter of Neo Queen Serenity and King Endymion in the 30th century. Her pink hair and distinctive Odango hairstyle were inherited from her mother, though her personality was markedly different from Usagi's cheerful demeanor. The revelation that she was essentially Usagi's future daughter explained her complex relationship with both Usagi and Mamoru. In the 30th century, Earth had been transformed into a utopian society centered around the city of Crystal Tokyo. This gleaming metropolis was protected by an enormous crystal palace that served as both the royal residence and the source of the silver crystal's power that maintained peace and prosperity throughout the world. Neo Queen Serenity ruled this future Earth with wisdom and compassion, having evolved from Sailor Moon into a mature leader who had learned to balance her responsibilities as both a magical guardian and a monarch. Her husband, King Endymion, was the future version of Mamoru, and together they had created a world without war, poverty, or suffering. The other Sailor Guardians had also evolved in the future, becoming advisors and protectors to the royal family while maintaining their own civilian lives and relationships. Their experience and wisdom had grown along with their powers, making them formidable guardians of the peaceful society they had helped create. However, this perfect society had come under attack from the Black Moon clan, who viewed Crystal Tokyo's peace as a form of oppression. The clan's dark crystal technology allowed them to create areas where the silver crystal's positive influence could not reach, establishing footholds for their rebellion against the established order. The attack had been devastating, with the Black Moon clan managing to capture most of Crystal Tokyo and force the royal family into hiding. Neo Queen Serenity had fallen into a coma-like sleep to protect herself and the silver crystal from corruption by the dark crystals, leaving King Endymion to lead the resistance against the invaders. In desperation, King Endymion had sent his daughter back in time to seek help from the Sailor Guardians of the past. Chibiusa's mission was to obtain the silver crystal from Sailor Moon, believing that two silver crystals working together might have the power to defeat the Black Moon clan and save Crystal Tokyo. The journey to the 30th century allowed the present-day Sailor Guardians to see their future selves and understand the long-term consequences of their current battles. This knowledge was both inspiring and overwhelming, as they realized the enormous responsibility they carried for the future of humanity. The meeting between Usagi and Neo Queen Serenity was particularly emotional, as Usagi struggled to accept that she would eventually become the wise and powerful queen she saw before her. The queen's serenity and confidence seemed so different from Usagi's current personality that she wondered if she could ever truly become such a leader. King Endymion's reunion with his past self and his daughter was equally complex, as Mamoru had to confront the reality of his future responsibilities as both a father and a king. The sight of his mature self confidently leading the resistance against the Black Moon clan inspired him, while also highlighting how much growth lay ahead. The revelation that the silver crystal of the future and the silver crystal of the present were actually the same crystal, existing in both time periods simultaneously, solved the mystery of why Chibiusa could not access its power. The crystal would only respond to its true owner, and until Chibiusa came of age and inherited her mother's role, she remained powerless despite her royal blood. Wiseman's manipulation and Chibiusa's corruption. The true threat behind the Black Moon clan's rebellion was revealed to be an ancient entity known as Wiseman, also called Death Phantom. This being was the remnant of a criminal from Crystal Tokyo's past who had been banished to a desolate planet called Nemesis, where his hatred and resentment had grown over centuries of isolation. Wiseman possessed the ability to manipulate the emotions of others through his connection to the dark crystal formations that covered planet Nemesis. His ultimate goal was not merely to conquer Crystal Tokyo, but to destroy the entire concept of hope and happiness that the silver crystal represented. Death Phantom had spent centuries studying the nature of the silver crystal's power, learning that it drew its strength from positive emotions like love, hope, and friendship. By understanding this, he developed the ability to corrupt these emotions and turn them into sources of dark power that could rival or even exceed the silver crystal's might. His manipulation of Prince Diamond and the Black Moon clan was based on exploiting their genuine grievances against Crystal Tokyo's seemingly perfect society. While their concerns about stagnation and loss of individual freedom had some validity, Wiseman twisted these legitimate issues into an obsession with destruction and chaos. The entity's most insidious plan involved targeting Chibiusa directly, recognizing that her unique position as the future heir to the silver crystal made her both incredibly powerful and incredibly vulnerable. Her childish insecurities and feelings of inadequacy compared to her parents made her an ideal target for emotional manipulation. Wiseman began appearing to Chibiusa during moments of particular distress, presenting himself as a kindly grandfather figure who understood her pain and loneliness. He offered her the power and recognition she craved, promising to make her strong enough to help her parents and save Crystal Tokyo. The corruption process was gradual, with Wiseman slowly poisoning Chibiusa's thoughts and emotions while appearing to offer comfort and support. He convinced her that her parents and the Sailor Guardians saw her as a burden rather than a valuable ally, feeding into her existing insecurities about her lack of powers. When Chibiusa's pain reached its peak, Wiseman revealed his true nature and offered her a choice: remain weak and helpless, or accept his power and become strong enough to take what she deserved. In her moment of greatest despair, Chibiusa chose power, allowing Wiseman to transform her into Black Lady. As Black Lady, Chibiusa aged rapidly into a young woman with dark hair and revealing clothing that reflected her corruption. Her personality became cruel and manipulative, driven by twisted versions of her original desires for love and recognition. She retained her memories and feelings, but interpreted them through the lens of Wiseman's dark influence. Black Lady's power was significant, though primarily focused on dark energy attacks and emotional manipulation, rather than the time and space control described earlier. She could create powerful energy blasts and influence the emotions of others, making her a formidable opponent for the Sailor Guardians. The psychological impact of fighting against Chibiusa's corrupted form was devastating for both Usagi and Mamoru, who saw their future daughter attacking them with genuine hatred and malice. The knowledge that they were partially responsible for the pain that had led to her corruption added guilt to their determination to save her. The battle to redeem Black Lady required the Sailor Guardians to confront not only her power, but also the emotional truths that had made her vulnerable to Wiseman's corruption. They had to prove that their love for her was unconditional and that she had value beyond her usefulness as a weapon or heir. The climactic battle against Wiseman and Black Lady took place across multiple dimensions and time periods, as Death Phantom's power allowed him to manipulate the very fabric of reality. The Sailor Guardians found themselves fighting not just for the present and future, but for the fundamental concepts of hope and love themselves. Sailor Moon's approach to saving Black Lady was based on reaching the part of Chibiusa that still existed within the corruption. Rather than treating her as an enemy to be defeated, Sailor Moon consistently addressed her as the frightened child she truly was, refusing to give up on the possibility of redemption. This approach was risky, as Black Lady's power could easily destroy Sailor Moon if her guard was lowered. However, Sailor Moon's unwavering faith in Chibiusa's fundamental goodness proved to be the key to breaking through Wiseman's influence. The turning point came when Sailor Moon willingly absorbed one of Black Lady's most powerful attacks, demonstrating through her sacrifice that she truly cared more about Chibiusa's well-being than her own safety. This act of selfless love contradicted everything Wiseman had told Chibiusa about being unwanted and unloved. As the corruption began to weaken, Chibiusa's memories of genuine love and kindness from her family started to resurface. She remembered moments of tenderness with her parents, the pride they had shown in her accomplishments, and their grief when she had disappeared into the past. The realization that Wiseman had twisted her perceptions and manipulated her genuine pain into weapons against her own family filled Chibiusa with determination to resist his control. Her natural connection to the silver crystal, inherited from her mother, gave her the strength to begin fighting back against the dark energy. The final confrontation with Wiseman required the combined power of both silver crystals, wielded by both Sailor Moon and the restored Chibiusa. Their mother-daughter bond, strengthened by their shared ordeal, created a resonance between the crystals that multiplied their individual powers exponentially. Wiseman's defeat was not just a victory over a single enemy, but a triumph of the principles that the silver crystal represented. The power of love, family, and hope had proven stronger than centuries of hatred and manipulation, reaffirming the Sailor Guardians' faith in their mission. Chibiusa's redemption also marked her growth from a frightened child into a young Sailor Guardian in her own right. She gained the ability to transform into Sailor Chibi Moon, with powers that complemented rather than competed with her mother's abilities. The resolution of the Black Moon Clan crisis allowed for a deeper understanding of the relationship between the past and future versions of the Sailor Guardians. The knowledge that their current actions would directly impact the creation of Crystal Tokyo's utopian society added weight to their decisions and responsibilities. Chibiusa's departure back to her own time was emotional for everyone involved, as the bonds formed during their adventure had become genuine family relationships. The promise that she would return to visit provided hope for future reunions, while allowing her to resume her education and training in the 30th century. The experience of seeing their future selves had a profound impact on each of the Sailor Guardians, giving them concrete goals to work toward and a better understanding of their ultimate purpose. The knowledge that their struggles would eventually lead to a world of peace and prosperity provided motivation during difficult times. Let's continue exploring as we transition into the S season and encounter new threats from beyond the solar system. Before the main events of the S season began, the Sailor Guardians faced a threat that combined elements of Japanese folklore with cosmic danger. The movie Hearts in Ice featured Princess Kaguya, an alien being whose story paralleled the classical Japanese tale of the Moon Princess. Princess Kaguya was an entity of immense power who sought to freeze the entire Earth, transforming it into a world of eternal winter that would serve as her domain. Her plan involved using powerful ice crystals to gradually lower the planet's temperature until all life was extinguished and replaced by her ice-based existence. The threat was particularly personal for Luna, who during this adventure was granted the ability to take human form. As a human, Luna appeared as a beautiful young woman with long dark hair, though she retained her memories and personality as a cat. This transformation allowed her to experience human emotions and relationships in a new way. Luna's human form led to a romantic subplot involving a young astronomer who was studying the unusual celestial phenomena that accompanied Princess Kaguya's approach to Earth. This relationship gave Luna insight into human love and helped her understand the bonds between the Sailor Guardians from a different perspective. The battle against Princess Kaguya required the Sailor Guardians to work together on an unprecedented scale, as her ice powers were capable of affecting the entire planet's climate. The resolution involved not just defeating the alien princess, but healing the damage her presence had caused to Earth's environment. This movie served as a bridge between the R and S seasons, introducing themes of cosmic threats and the expanding scope of the sale of the Sailor Guardian's responsibilities that would become central to the S-season's storyline. The period following these earlier adventures was marked by a gradual escalation of supernatural activity in Tokyo that would eventually reveal a threat unlike any the Sailor Guardians had previously encountered. This new enemy operated through scientific methods rather than magical ones, representing a fusion of advanced technology with otherworldly powers. The Deathbusters organization was led by Professor Tomei, a brilliant scientist whose research into artificial life forms had attracted the attention of beings from another dimension. Tomei had once been a legitimate researcher working on projects related to genetics and synthetic biology, but a laboratory accident had changed both his appearance and his ethical boundaries. The accident had occurred during an experiment involving interdimensional energy, which had opened a portal allowing entities from the Tau star system to influence events on Earth. These beings, known as daimons, were parasitic life forms that required host bodies to survive in Earth's environment. Professor Tomei's own body had been partially taken over by a daimon, though he retained enough of his original personality to continue his research. His daughter Hotaru had also been affected by the accident, though in her case the influence was from a much more powerful entity that remained dormant within her. The Deathbusters' plan involved collecting pure hearts from humans throughout Tokyo. These pure hearts were crystallized forms of a person's most positive and powerful emotions, containing concentrated life energy that the daimons needed to maintain their existence and prepare for a larger invasion. The extraction of a pure heart would leave the victim in a weakened state, often causing them to fall unconscious or become seriously ill. Unlike previous enemy attacks that focused on general life energy, the targeting of pure hearts meant that only certain individuals were at risk, though predicting who possessed such hearts proved difficult. The Deathbusters operated through various front organizations, including legitimate businesses and research facilities, that provided cover for their activities. This approach made them more difficult to detect than previous enemies who had relied primarily on supernatural methods. Introduction of the Outer Sailor Guardians. The threat posed by the Deathbusters was so significant that it triggered the awakening of Sailor Guardians, who had remained dormant since the fall of the Silver Millennium. These Outer Sailor Guardians possessed powers that were more destructive than those of the Inner Guardians, reflecting their role as protectors against threats from outside the solar system. Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune had been operating as a team for some time before revealing themselves to the other Guardians. Their civilian identities as Tenno Haruka and Kaio Michiru allowed them to move freely through Tokyo society while investigating the Deathbusters' activities. Haruka presented as masculine in both appearance and behavior, often wearing men's clothing and maintaining an androgynous appearance that confused those who met her. She was talented at racing and other traditionally masculine pursuits, though she was definitively female. Her personality was confident and somewhat aloof, reflecting her focus on their mission above personal relationships. Michiru was more traditionally feminine in her presentation, with an elegant demeanor and refined cultural interests, including painting and violin performance. Despite her gentle appearance, she possessed a practical intelligence and unwavering determination that made her an effective partner for Haruka. The relationship between Haruka and Michiru was complex, combining their roles as fellow Sailor Guardians with what appeared to be a deep romantic connection. This relationship was unlike anything the Inner Guardians had encountered, as it demonstrated that the bonds between Sailor Guardians could take many different forms. Both Outer Guardians possessed talismans, which were special items connected to their Sailor Guardian powers. Haruka's space sword and Michiru's deep aqua mirror were two of the three talismans needed to awaken the most powerful of the Outer Guardians and prevent the complete destruction of the world. Their mission differed from that of the Inner Guardians in its scope and methods. While the Inner Guardians focused on protecting individual people and maintaining peace, the Outer Guardians were prepared to sacrifice anything, including their own lives and the lives of innocents, to prevent threats that could destroy the entire planet. This philosophical difference created tension when the two groups began working together. The Inner Guardians, led by Sailor Moon's compassionate approach, believed that there had to be ways to save everyone, while the Outer Guardians pragmatically accepted that some sacrifices were necessary for the greater good. The search for the third talisman led to the discovery of Hotaru Tomoe, Professor Tomoe's daughter, who had been transformed by the same accident that had corrupted her father. Hotaru's frail health and mysterious abilities made her a person of interest to both the Sailor Guardians and the Deathbusters. The Deathbusters' primary agents in their search for the three talismans were a group of powerful individuals known as the Witches 5. The first 4 members of this group held the rank of level 78 within the Deathbusters organization and operated from Mugen Academy, using the school as a cover for their operations. Each possessed unique abilities and personalities, and their systematic approach to hunting pure heart crystals made them formidable opponents for the Sailor Guardians. Udial was the first of the Witches 5 to take an active role in the search for the talismans. She served as the team's chief scientist and inventor, creating various technological devices to aid in identifying and extracting pure heart crystals from victims. Her most notable invention was the Firebuster, a weapon that could shoot powerful flames, which she wielded with deadly precision. Udial's approach to missions was methodical and scientific. She would use her computer systems to analyze data and identify individuals who might possess pure hearts containing the talismans. Her equipment allowed her to detect unusual spiritual energy signatures, making her more efficient at targeting potential carriers than simple random attacks would have been. She drove a modified vehicle that she used to travel to mission sites and escape when necessary. The car was equipped with various weapons and defensive systems that made it a formidable mobile fortress. Udial's reliance on technology reflected her belief that science and innovation could overcome any obstacle, including the mystical powers of the Sailor Guardians. Despite her intelligence and planning abilities, Udial's downfall came through betrayal rather than defeat in battle. Mimeti, the next witch in line, tampered with Udial's car in a jealous attempt to advance her own position within the organization. This sabotage led to Udial's death in a fiery crash, demonstrating the competitive and ruthless nature of the Deathbusters' internal hierarchy. Mimeti was dramatically different from the serious and scientific Udial. She was obsessed with celebrities and idol culture, frequently expressing her admiration for famous performers and her desire to be in the spotlight herself. Her personality was bubbly and energetic on the surface, though underneath lay cunning ambition and a willingness to eliminate rivals through any means necessary. Her strategy for hunting pure hearts involved infiltrating the entertainment industry and targeting celebrities and performers who attracted large audiences. Mimeti believed that famous individuals were more likely to possess pure hearts, as their ability to move people emotionally suggested spiritual depth. She would attend concerts, theatrical performances, and other public events, using these gatherings as hunting grounds. Mimeti possessed the ability to enter and manipulate television broadcasts and other electronic media. She could trap people within screens and monitors, using technology as a medium for her attacks. This ability made her particularly dangerous in an era where television and electronic entertainment were becoming increasingly central to daily life. Her ambition ultimately proved to be her undoing. After successfully taking credit for Udial's elimination and claiming her position, Mimeti attempted to use a powerful but experimental device without proper understanding of its operation. Telu, the next witch in line, took advantage of this moment by turning off the machine while Mimeti was still merged with it, trapping her permanently in the electronic space and eliminating another rival for power. Telu brought a completely different approach to the mission. As the owner and operator of a botanical shop, she specialized in plants and had the ability to create and control deadly vegetation. Her strategy involved distributing a special plant called the telun, which she sold to unsuspecting customers through her shop and various public events. The telun plants appeared beautiful and appealing, attracting customers who wanted to add an attractive plant to their homes or offices. However, these plants were designed to drain energy from their owners over time, weakening them, while simultaneously feeding information about their spiritual energy back to Telu. If a person with a pure heart was identified, the telun would grow rapidly and aggressively, attempting to extract the heart crystal on the spot. Telu's cold and professional demeanor made her one of the more efficient witches. She showed little emotion or personal investment in her work, treating the hunt for talismans as simply a job to be completed with maximum efficiency. This detachment allowed her to operate without the emotional weaknesses that had compromised her predecessors. Her end came during a confrontation where her own plants were turned against her. The Sailor Guardians managed to disrupt her control over the telun plants, which then attacked Telu herself in their mindless hunger for energy. She was consumed by her own creations, a fitting end for someone who had treated life so callously. Vilui was another scientist within the Witches 5, but unlike Udil's focus on weapons and detection equipment, Vilui specialized in computer technology and digital systems. She used advanced computer programs and cybernetic enhancements to pursue her missions, representing the cutting edge of the Deathbusters' technological capabilities. Her primary strategy involved infiltrating Mugen Academy and using a national practice exam as a cover for identifying pure heart candidates. She would administer tests that were actually designed to measure spiritual energy rather than academic knowledge, using the data to pinpoint individuals worth targeting. This approach allowed her to scan large numbers of people efficiently. Vilui had cybernetically enhanced herself, integrating technology directly into her body. This gave her abilities that went beyond normal human limitations, including enhanced strength, speed, and the ability to interface directly with computer systems. She could generate energy attacks from her wrists and possessed defensive systems that protected her from conventional weapons. Her defeat came when her own technology was exploited against her. During a battle, the systems within her body were damaged and began to malfunction. The cybernetic enhancements that had made her powerful became a liability, and she was destroyed by the very technology she had embraced so completely. The final member of the Witches 5 was actually two beings who functioned as one. Cyprien and Tilol were either two aspects of the same individual or two separate beings so closely connected that they operated as a single unit. They were listed as level 999 within the Deathbusters organization, far exceeding the level 78 rank of the other witches, marking them as the most powerful of the group. Cyprien appeared elegant and sophisticated, dressed in fine clothing and carrying herself with regal bearing. Ptilol was her counterpart, similar in appearance but distinct in personality. Together, they possessed the ability to absorb and amplify energy attacks directed at them, turning their opponent's own power against them. This technique made them extremely difficult to defeat through conventional combat, as any attack would only be absorbed and sent back with even greater force. Their strategy relied on psychological manipulation as much as raw power. They could turn people's negative emotions against them, amplifying doubt, fear, and anger to create conflict. This made them dangerous, not just in direct combat, but in their ability to sow discord and division among their enemies. The dual nature of Cyprien and Tilol proved to be both their greatest strength and their ultimate weakness. Their power came from their connection to each other, but this also meant that they were dependent on one another. When the Sailor Guardians discovered this vulnerability and managed to separate them, they were able to turn the witches' own absorption and amplification powers against them, causing them to destroy each other. The Witches 5 represented the Deathbusters' most organized and systematic approach to achieving their goals. Unlike previous villain groups that had relied primarily on random attacks or opportunistic strikes, the Witches employed careful planning, advanced technology, and strategic thinking. Their eventual defeats came not just from the Sailor Guardians' power, but from their own ambition, internal competition, and the flaws in their methodologies. Each witch's downfall served as a lesson about the dangers of obsession, whether with technology, fame, efficiency, or power itself. Hotaru Tomoe's life had been forever altered by the laboratory accident that had brought the Deathbusters to Earth. The explosion had left her near death, forcing her father to save her life through experimental procedures that had incorporated diamond technology into her body. As a result of these procedures, Hotaru possessed healing abilities that seemed miraculous, but came at a terrible cost. Each time she used her powers to heal someone else, she experienced intense pain and physical deterioration. This cycle of helping others while harming herself reflected the tragic nature of her situation. Hotaru attended Infinity Academy, the elite private school that served as the Deathbusters' primary front organization. Despite her academic excellence, she struggled to form friendships with her classmates due to her unusual abilities and the mysterious circumstances surrounding her health problems. Her friendship with Chibiusa, who had returned from the future for another visit, represented one of the few normal relationships in Hotaru's life. Chibiusa's innocent acceptance of Hotaru's differences provided emotional support that had been missing from her isolated existence. However, Hotaru's body also housed a far more dangerous presence in the form of Mistress Nine, a powerful daimon who served as the advance scout for an entity called Master Pharaoh 90. This parasitic being had been slowly taking over Hotaru's body since the accident, waiting for the right moment to complete the possession. The awakening of Mistress Nine was triggered by the collection of enough pure hearts to provide the energy needed for her full manifestation. When this occurred, Hotaru's personality was completely suppressed, replaced by a being of immense destructive power who served as the herald for the complete invasion of Earth. Master Pharaoh 90 was revealed to be a cosmic entity whose goal was to transform Earth into a planet suitable for diamond life, which would require the complete elimination of all existing life forms. The process would begin with the opening of a massive portal that would allow unlimited numbers of diamonds to enter Earth's dimension. The crisis reached its peak when Mistress Nine succeeded in opening the portal, allowing Master Pharaoh 90 to begin manifesting on Earth. The entity's presence caused widespread destruction and threatened to consume the planet's life force entirely. The only force capable of stopping such a catastrophe was Sailor Saturn, the Guardian of Destruction, whose awakening had been feared by the Outer Guardians. Saturn's power was so immense that using it would not only destroy the enemy, but potentially devastate the Earth as well. The awakening of Sailor Saturn required Hotaru to overcome Mistress Nine's control and reclaim her own body and identity. This internal battle was fought with help from her father, who had managed to overcome his own daimon possession through his love for his daughter, and from Sailor Moon, who refused to accept that saving the world required sacrificing Hotaru. When Sailor Saturn finally awakened, her appearance reflected both her immense power and the tragic nature of her role. Her sailor uniform was dark purple and black, with symbols of death and rebirth, and she carried the Silence Glaive, a weapon capable of ending all life on a planetary scale. The confrontation with Master Pharaoh 90 required Sailor Saturn to use her full power, knowing that doing so would likely result in her own death. Her willingness to make this sacrifice to protect others demonstrated the same selfless courage that defined all the Sailor Guardians. However, Sailor Moon's intervention changed the nature of the sacrifice, as her healing powers combined with Saturn's destructive force to not only banish Master Pharaoh 90, but also restore Hotaru to life as a normal infant, giving her a chance to grow up without the burdens that had defined her previous existence. Following the intense battles of the S season, the Super S period represented a shift toward exploring the power of dreams and the innocence of childhood. The primary threat during this time came from the Dead Moon Circus, an organization that sought to control people through manipulating their dreams and aspirations. The Dead Moon Circus was led by Queen Nehelenia, a powerful sorceress whose own fears about aging and losing her beauty had corrupted her into a being obsessed with eternal youth. Her kingdom existed in a mirror dimension where she could maintain her appearance indefinitely, but she craved the pure dreams of children to sustain her power. The circus served as a front for operations designed to identify and capture people with beautiful dreams. These dreams contained spiritual energy that could be harvested to feed Queen Nehelenia's magic and extend her artificial youth. The targeting of dreams rather than life force or emotions represented a more subtle but equally invasive form of attack. The Amazon trio, Tiger's Eye, Hawk's Eye, and Fish Eye, served as Queen Nehelenia's primary agents in the human world. These beings had originally been animals that had been transformed into human-like forms, giving them unique perspectives on humanity while maintaining certain animal characteristics in their personalities and abilities. Each member of the trio had been assigned to investigate specific types of people as potential sources of beautiful dreams. Tiger's Eye focused on young women, Hawk's Eye targeted older women and some men, while Fish Eye showed interest in men and younger boys. Their methods involved seduction and psychological manipulation to gain access to their target's dream mirrors. The process of examining someone's dreams required the creation of a dream mirror, a crystalline reflection of the target's subconscious hopes and fears. When a dream mirror was extracted, the victim would fall unconscious and become vulnerable to having their dreams stolen permanently. The Amazon Quartet, Serisire, Palapala, Vesvis, and Jun, initially served Queen Nehelenia as well, but their youth and relative innocence made them less committed to her cause than the trio. These four possessed powers related to different aspects of childhood and circus performance, using these abilities to create elaborate traps and challenges for their enemies. The Super S period also marked the introduction of Pegasus, a winged unicorn who existed primarily in the dream realm but could communicate with Chibiusa through her dreams. Pegasus was revealed to be the guardian of Elysian, a hidden realm connected to Earth that served as the planet's spiritual center. Pegasus's true identity was Helios, a priest responsible for protecting Elysian and maintaining the balance between the physical and spiritual aspects of Earth. Queen Nehelenia's invasion of the dream realm had forced him to take refuge in Chibiusa's pure dreams, where her innocence provided protection from the Dead Moon Circus's corruption. The relationship between Chibiusa and Pegasus represented a pure form of connection based on mutual trust and shared ideals, rather than romantic attraction. This bond allowed Chibiusa to access new powers as Sailor Chibi Moon, while providing Pegasus with the strength needed to resist Queen Nehelenia's attempts to capture him. The resolution of the Super S crisis required the Sailor Guardians to enter the Dream Realm directly and confront Queen Nehelenia in her own domain. This battle took place as much on a psychological level as a physical one, as the Guardians had to overcome illusions and temptations designed to exploit their deepest fears and desires. Queen Nehelenia's ultimate defeat came not through destruction, but through helping her confront the vanity and fear that had corrupted her. When forced to see herself as she truly was, rather than the idealized image she had maintained through stolen dreams, she was able to begin the process of redemption and healing. During the Super S period, the Sailor Guardians also faced a threat from space in the form of an entity known as Badian and her followers, who sought to put all children on Earth into an eternal sleep so they could harvest their dream energy. This movie expanded on the themes of dreams and childhood that defined the Super S season. Badian's plan involved using a massive ship called the Black Dream Hole to create a worldwide field that would cause all children to fall asleep permanently. Once asleep, their dreams would be extracted and used to power Badian's magic and extend her own existence. The movie featured the Amazon Quartet in reformed roles, as they had been redeemed by the end of the main Super S storyline, and now worked to protect children's dreams rather than exploit them. Their knowledge of dream manipulation proved valuable in understanding and countering Badian's scheme. The resolution required the combined efforts of both Sailor Moon and Sailor Chibi Moon, working together with Pegasus to enter the Dream Realm and confront Badiane directly. The battle took place across multiple layers of dream reality, requiring the Guardians to navigate illusions and false memories while maintaining their connection to their true identities. The movie reinforced the importance of childhood innocence and the power of dreams to inspire hope and creativity. The victory over Badiane was achieved not through force, but through awakening the dreams and aspirations of children worldwide, creating a wave of positive energy that overwhelmed the aliens' dark magic. The final major storyline of the Sailor Moon series introduced threats and concepts on a cosmic scale that dwarfed all previous conflicts. The arrival of the Sailor Starlights on Earth was the first sign that the Sailor Guardians' responsibility extended far beyond protecting their own planet. The Sailor Starlights, Sailor Starfighter, Sailor Star Maker, and Sailor Star Healer had come to Earth while searching for their princess, who had fled their home planet when it was destroyed by a powerful enemy. In their civilian identities, they formed a popular music group called the Three Lights, using their fame to search for their missing princess. Their home planet, Kinmoku, had fallen victim to Sailor Galaxia, a Sailor Guardian who had been corrupted by the power of chaos and now sought to collect the star seeds of all Sailor Guardians in the galaxy. Star seeds were the source of a Sailor Guardian's power and life force, making their theft equivalent to murder. Sailor Galaxia had once been a heroic figure who had fought to protect the galaxy from the force known as chaos. However, her decision to seal chaos within her own body to prevent its spread had gradually corrupted her, turning her into the very evil she had sought to defeat. Under Chaos's influence, Galaxia had assembled an army of corrupted Sailor Guardians, called Sailor Animamates, who served as her agents in conquering and destroying planets throughout the galaxy. These fallen Guardians retained their powers but had lost their moral compass and commitment to protecting life. The Sailor Starlight's princess was revealed to be Princess Kakyu, who had been hiding on Earth in a severely weakened state while her Guardians searched for her. Her planet's destruction had left her with barely enough strength to maintain her physical form, and she required time and protection to recover her full power. The arrival of Sailor Galaxia's forces on Earth marked the beginning of the final battle for the fate of the galaxy. Galaxia's power was so immense that she could easily defeat multiple Sailor Guardians simultaneously, making direct confrontation seemingly hopeless. The conflict reached its climax when Galaxia succeeded in killing most of the Sailor Guardians, including the Outer Guardians, and eventually even Mamoru, leaving Sailor Moon to face the destroyer of worlds alone. This ultimate test of Sailor Moon's resolve and power would determine not just Earth's fate, but the future of all life in the galaxy. The final battle with Sailor Galaxia took place on multiple levels, as Sailor Moon had to combat not only Galaxia's immense power, but also the influence of chaos itself. The key to victory lay not in defeating Galaxia through force, but in helping her remember who she had been before chaos's corruption. Sailor Moon's approach to this ultimate enemy was consistent with her character throughout the series. She refused to accept that Galaxia was truly evil, and instead sought to heal the corruption that had overtaken her. This compassion, even in the face of apparently hopeless odds, proved to be the key to saving not only Galaxia, but the entire galaxy. The resolution of the conflict with Chaos and Sailor Galaxia demonstrated the ultimate triumph of the principles that had guided Sailor Moon throughout all her adventures. The power of love, friendship, and hope proved stronger than even cosmic-level evil, reaffirming the value of compassion in the face of seemingly insurmountable darkness. The restoration of all those who had been killed during the final battle was made possible by the combined power of all the star seeds that Galaxia had collected, channeled through Sailor Moon's pure heart and unwavering faith in the possibility of redemption. This victory represented not just the defeat of a single enemy, but the renewal of hope throughout the galaxy. The series concluded with the understanding that the cycle of conflict and resolution would continue eternally, as new threats would always arise to challenge the forces of good. However, the knowledge that love and friendship could overcome any obstacle provided confidence that these future challenges could be met successfully. The Sailor Guardians' growth throughout their adventures had transformed them from ordinary girls into wise and powerful protectors capable of defending not just their own world, but the entire universe. Their experiences had taught them that true strength came not from their magical powers, but from their connections to each other and their commitment to protecting all life. The eternal nature of their mission was both a burden and a privilege, as it meant they would always be needed, but also that they would always have the opportunity to make a positive difference in the world. The bonds they had formed would transcend time and space, ensuring that they would never be alone in their struggles. As we conclude this comprehensive journey through the world of Sailor Moon, we are reminded that the themes of love, friendship, and hope that define the series are not limited to fantasy, but represent ideals that can guide us in our own lives. The courage and compassion demonstrated by Usagi and her friends serve as inspiration for facing our own challenges with determination and grace. The story of Sailor Moon ultimately celebrates the power of ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things when they are guided by love and supported by true friendship. In a world that can often seem dark and difficult, these timeless lessons remind us that light will always find a way to shine through the darkness, and that hope will always triumph over despair. Rest now, and let these tales of courage and friendship fill your dreams with the same magic and wonder that have inspired generations of fans around the world. The legacy of the Sailor Guardians lives on in every act of kindness, every moment of courage, and every choice to protect and cherish the things we love most. Sleep peacefully, knowing that somewhere in the cosmos, the Sailor Guardians continue their eternal watch, protecting all life, and ensuring that love will always prevail over hatred, hope will always conquer despair, and friendship will always light the way through even the darkest of times.